Okay, guys, so we are going to tackle part 4, which is the custom class challenges. And you can find these challenges in the Introduction to CSS2 part 2 tutorial guide, which is all about custom CSS classes. So we're on page 3 here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you first what the result of this first task should look like in your website, and then I'm going to go over how to build it. And yeah, let's have some fun together with CSS and let's see what happens. So here is what it should look like. So what I wanted you guys to achieve in this is I want you to add another image, and I want you to maintain the rectangular shape of the image so it's not a rounded image, right? We're not applying border radius CSS to the first image. And then I want us to maintain the border radius at 50% for the second image. So the approach is like, let's get some things working and then let's see what problems we run into and then let's see how we resolve those problems. And that's really like the fun part of these CSS challenges, is to get us thinking differently. How do we solve these design challenges as we move forward in this course, but as well as when you're, for WordPress, if you have to do some custom design work, you're going to need to go into your CSS file and you're going to need to apply those classes to your HTML, your index.html file in some of those special cases. So let's go ahead and tackle this first challenge. So here we are back in our Riplet project. The first thing I want to show you guys is how to comment in your index.html file. So a comment means that it is something that you can read, but it's not read by the browser. So it's not going to show up when you compile your HTML in the browser. So I'm going to show you guys how to do a comment. And notice how everything below, this is the beginning of the comment here, but notice how everything below is grayed out. So actually everything below right now is in comment mode. But let's just finish up our comment and then let's close the comment so our HTML is no longer in comment mode. So we're gonna add another image here, right? Because we want to add another image underneath this heading right here. Actually, it might look better if we move it underneath the paragraph. Yeah, I think that'll look better. Okay, so we're going to add an image here. So we know we're going to kind of kick off with an image tag. First of all, if you haven't done so yet, you want to pause the video and you want to make sure that you add another image to your project file. If you want to use the same image, that's perfectly fine, but sometimes it's like good practice to add another image. So I have gone ahead and I went to the Creative Commons website and I added another image. So we can check it out here. I called it Big Hawaii Waterfall. And as you notice here, I put it into my assets folder. Let's go back to the index.html file. The first thing we want to do is let's go ahead and add that image where we want to. So I'm going to add it on my line 14. It might be different for you. And you know what? I'm not going to like bother like looking it up again or trying to memorize it. I have the basic image tag right here. So I'm just going to copy. And that's perfectly fine, guys. Copying and pasting is what is highly encouraged. And so I'm gonna don't worry about that class for now. Just gonna delete that. And now I have, so what I have is duplicates, right, of the same image. but that's not the image that I want to display here. I want to display this image. So I'm just going to go ahead and big Hawaii waterfall.jpg. I'm going to go back here. So big Hawaii waterfall.jpg. Okay, everything looks good. Let's go ahead and run it and make sure. Okay, great. So, right, one of the problems that we're trying to solve is we don't want this image to be rounded, and we want to set the height and width to height to 500 pixels and the width to 700 pixels. So in order to do this, we automatically know that we're going to have to create a custom class, right? Because we want to set these apart. So we're going to head into our style.css because that's where we can set the design, right? Or we can create these custom classes. And the first thing I want to do is let's go ahead and set up the custom class for this image here, right? So the custom class, I'm going to call it rectangular image because when I apply it, I know that I'm applying it so that that image is going to be rectangular, and we have a height set to 500 pixels and a width set to 700 pixels. And just to show you guys, it's a little bit different to comment in your CSS file. So we're going to go / comment here, and you notice I closed it with an asterisk and a /, and that's the comment here. So maybe what we're gonna put in between here is set or create custom class for a rectangular image, or we can say non-rounded image. So to me, it makes sense to name it rectangular image. And once again, when you're naming these custom classes, you want to be able to remember them, you want them to be memorable, and you want them to make sense. So that's why I'm naming this rectangular image, because it makes sense to the sort of design that I'm trying to apply to the image. We know that we want to set the height to 500 pixels, and we want to set the width, so just use that autocomplete there to help you out, 700 pixels. And that's what we want to do so far. And let's think about what the next step is. So before, maybe what I should tell you guys is this is not going to be applied yet, right? And the reason why is we actually have to apply the custom class to the tag, right? To the tag that we're interested in. So we're interested in applying this to this image right here. And so I'm going to go class equals, and I think I copied that. Oh, no, I didn't. So I'm going to go back here to my style.css. I'm going to just copy. So you don't need to copy the dot. You just need to copy the name. And I'm going to go back to my HTML file, and I'm going to put that in. And let's run and see what happens. Okay, so we didn't see that much of a change, and the image is still rounded. So I'm like, oh, how do I solve this problem? What are we going to do? We are going to create a second custom class that we're going to call rounded image, right? Because we have an issue here right now. If we look at our CSS, that border radius is being applied to all the images. So what we're going to do is we are going to create, let's practice comments again. So create custom class for rounded images. And this is what I like really love about coding, is just like figuring things out. There's probably another elegant solution for this. So like, it's really about using your own knowledge and then doing research online that we've been talking about. There's many ways to do things, but I think just do things that the way that you're comfortable with and that you understand. And then as you learn about CSS more, you will be applying CSS designing differently. It just really depends on where you're at. But don't be afraid to play around or tinker around with the CSS and do that research and see what happens when you apply your new knowledge. Okay, so I'm going to call this rounded image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this border radius, right? So it's not about working harder, it's just working smarter. Let's just copy and paste. And I'm going to comment this out because who knows, I might want this later, right? As I'm working through my website. Okay, so we have one last step. We're going to have to apply this to that second image. So here's our second image right here. Is my line 21. And once again, let's type in class equals rounded image. Okay, that looks good. Let's see what happens. And yes, this is exactly what I wanted you guys to tackle for that, or wanted you guys to achieve for that first task. All right, let's get ready for the next challenge. And I'm going to do that in a separate video. Aloha.